Of course, friends, get ready for a true historical detective story that will hook you from the first words. We are about to embark on a journey where the mysteries of World War II intertwine with the fates of brilliant engineers, and a random online find leads to staggering conclusions. This story isn't just about a rifle. It's about ideas that were decades ahead of their time, about the brutal lessons of war, and about how one forgotten weapon invisibly changed the world. I promise, it's going to be intense. Stay tuned, because a major conclusion awaits you at the end, one that will flip your understanding of weapons history on its head. And it would be a great honor for me if, after reading, you share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss this sensation together. So, are we ready? Let's go. The emotional hook and the mystery found in the digital jungle. Imagine a quiet evening. You're sipping coffee, scrolling through endless forum threads, archives, old patents, the dust of digital libraries, and suddenly a flash, an incomprehensible photo, a strange, almost alien silhouette of a weapon you've never seen in hundreds of war movies. Not an MP40, not a Schmeisser, not a Carabiner 98K. Something else. Something wrong. As if it was designed yesterday, but abandoned on a battlefield 80 years ago. As someone consumed by the history of technology, this struck me to the core. I had to get to the bottom of it. And you know what's the craziest part? This find didn't just lead to another prototype. It led to the origins of one of the most revolutionary ideas in 20th century firearms design, the bullpup configuration. And the key to it all was a strange, nearly forgotten automatic rifle created by a firm that made brakes for trains. Yes, you heard that right. While giants like Mauser and Rheinmetall forged the Wehrmacht's famous weapons, the humble Knorr-Bremse company decided to challenge them. And what they created is still shocking today. Historical context: Crete, 1941. The cost of a mistake that spawned a genius idea. To understand why this rifle was needed, we must plunge into the hell of May 1941. Operation Mercury. German paratroopers, the elite of the Luftwaffe, drop from the sky onto the rocky, hot, lethally dangerous island of Crete. They are Hitler's eagles, but on that day they were more like sitting ducks. The British, New Zealanders, Greeks, and even local militia were ready. And here's the terrifying part. A paratrooper in the air is a defenseless target. His rifle or machine gun was dropped in a separate container. Upon landing, he had only a P-08 Parabellum pistol or, if lucky, an MP-38 submachine gun. Against a soldier with a standard Lee-Enfield or Springfield rifle, that's almost suicide. The Germans took Crete, but paid a monstrous price. Thousands of paratroopers killed and wounded. Their losses were so shocking that Hitler forever banned large-scale airborne operations. But the military are practical people. An ironclad conclusion was drawn. A paratrooper immediately needs a powerful automatic weapon right after landing. A weapon that, in one stroke, would replace his long-range rifle, his close-quarters submachine gun, and even, to some extent, a light machine gun for support. The task sounded like science fiction. Create a universal soldier sword, weighing no more than a standard Mauser 98K rifle. The Luftwaffe's weapons office sent out the technical requirements to anyone with ambition and available designers. A frantic race began. And in this race, among the respected masters, a modest outsider slipped in: the Knorr-Bremse company. Knorr-Bremse, a railway giant dreaming of firearms glory. Why them? Here we need an economic and historical note. In Nazi Germany, with its idea of total war and autarky, economic self-sufficiency, large industrial conglomerates were ready to grab any state contract. Knorr-Bremse from Berlin was a monster in pneumatic and braking systems for railways, trams, trucks. Precision mechanics, springs, metalworking, their forte. But war is also the weapons market, a market with a colossal budget and prestige. The firm already had an unsuccessful but telling experience. They developed the MG-35-36 aircraft machine gun, which never went into mass production but provided invaluable experience. Their engineers thought outside the box. They weren't bound by centuries-old small arms traditions like Mauser. They were technicians solving a problem from a blank slate. And when the Luftwaffe's requirements arrived, they saw in them not routine, but a challenge. A chance to break into the elite club, the anatomy of a revolution, breaking down the wonder rifle piece by piece. And now we come to the heart of our story. What the Knorr-Bremse engineers cobbled together in 1941 looked like alien technology. Let's break down its brilliant and insane features that will make you grab your head. The bullpup configuration. Genius ahead of its time by half a century. This is the main trick. In a normal rifle, the stock and bolt group are in line, making the weapon long. But the Germans wanted a powerful rifle that was short, convenient for airborne troops in planes and in combat. The Knorr-Bremse designers made a leap of thought. They moved the trigger mechanism forward into the stock and placed the magazine and bolt at the very rear, near the shooter's shoulder. This is the bullpup, like a bulldog puppy, for its characteristic shape. The result? With a barrel length of a full-power rifle, the overall length of the weapon shrank to a ridiculous 83 centimeters without the stock. That's shorter than many carbines. Imagine, a soldier gets the power of a long rifle in the dimensions of a short submachine gun. In 1941, this was absolute heresy. The only somewhat mass-produced predecessor was a Czech anti-tank rifle of the same layout. But applying this idea to an automatic rifle, that was an act of design courage. Action and locking, reliability and power. Here, too, there were innovations. The rifle operated on a gas piston system, like the later legendary AK, with a piston above the barrel. But the locking, oh, this is a masterpiece. They used roller-delayed blowback like on the MG42 machine gun. Two small rollers spread apart, locking the bolt. This system could withstand the enormous pressure of the powerful 7.92 by 57 mm Mauser cartridge and made the weapon incredibly durable. The Germans loved this system for its reliability under mud and stress. Recoil compensator and stamping, care for the soldier and the economy. Understanding that firing such a powerful cartridge in bursts from the shoulder would be quite an experience, the engineers built a muzzle brake/compensator into the barrel. It partially mitigated recoil and diverted propellant gases sideways, stabilizing the barrel. Another breakthrough, the receiver was made not by milling from a solid block, slow and expensive, but by deep stamping from sheet metal. Hiap, fast, efficient. This is future thinking, which later fully blossomed in the USSR during the creation of the AK. They were thinking not only about tactics but also about how to produce thousands of these rifles. Versatility. The paratroopers, Swiss Army knife. The weapon featured a dovetail mount for optical or collimator sights, an unheard-of luxury for an ordinary infantryman of that era. Side-mounted magazine, pistol grip. Everything screamed that this was a next-generation weapon. The cruel irony of fate. Why the revolutionary rifle lost. And now for the bitter pill. Despite all its genius, the Knorr-Bremse rifle lost the competition. The winner was Rheinmetall's development, the famous FG42, also an excellent and innovative rifle, but of classic layout. So why didn't the bullpup convince the generals? Conservatism and prejudice. In 1941, the bullpup layout was too exotic. The military feared. Would the balance be off? Would reloading be awkward? Was it dangerous to have the ejection port right by the cheek, venting gases into the shooter's face? New things are always viewed with suspicion. Haste. The Luftwaffe needed weapons yesterday. The FG42, for all its complexities, was conceptually closer to familiar designs. Perfecting a revolutionary, raw bullpup design under wartime conditions seemed too risky. Production complexity. Although stamping was progressive, setting up mass production from scratch for a completely new system was a colossal task. Rheinmetall had more experience and, likely, better connections. Thus, the revolutionary ended up on the scrap heap of history. The only known prototype, partially disassembled, missing the bolt, stock, magazine, sailed to the USA as a war trophy. Today, it silently gathers dust in the storerooms of the Springfield Armory Museum, a rare curio for specialists. The main sensational conclusion, the invisible thread of history. And now, the point of this long story. Remember, at the beginning, I said I stumbled upon this rifle while studying the roots of a Polish-English bullpup? Here's the punchline. After World War II, the Poles and the British, impressed by German developments, started their own projects. And in the late 40s and early 50s, experimental rifles like the British EM-1 or the Polish WZ-48 appeared. And in 1951, Britain adopted its first bullpup rifle, a layout that 10 years earlier, in the midst of war, had been perfected to brilliance by unknown engineers from a company that made brakes. The conclusion is shocking. An idea born in Nazi Germany for elite paratroopers, after the war, having changed its ideological color, became the basis for weapons of NATO armies. It evolved into the British SA-80, the Austrian August, the French FAMAs, the Israeli Taver. Today, the bullpup is a symbol of modern, compact, ergonomic army weapons. And the genes of this idea may very well trace directly back to that prototype from the Berlin workshops of Knorr-Bremse. The story of this rifle is the story of how a brilliant thought can be rejected by contemporaries, only to triumphantly return decades later. It's the story of how war is a terrible evil, but also, paradoxically, a monstrous crucible of innovation. And how true revolution is often born not in the center, but on the periphery, in the minds of engineers whom no one considered serious players. Such is fate, from train brakes to an idea that turned small arms design on its head. From the fiery hell of Crete to drawing boards where the future was born. Well, friends, our excursion into the past has come to an end. I hope I managed to hold your attention and show how fascinating history can be if you dig deeper than a picture online. This rifle is a silent rebuke to conservatism and a reminder of the power of human thought. What do you think? What other forgotten inventions are waiting for their moment? What ideas are we rejecting today that our grandchildren will use? Write your thoughts, guesses, questions in the comments. Let's bring this history to life with your opinions. And if you found this interesting, if you want me to keep digging up such forgotten technological sensations for you, subscribe to the channel. Up next, we'll talk about that very MG35-36 machine gun and the post-war bullpups that directly grew out of today's story. I promise it will be just as intense. Thank you for staying with me until the end.